Welcome to another episode of Wellness Wednesday. I'm with my good friend Pete Bombacci from the Genwell Project. Do I need wellness today? I have had one of those Wednesdays you just don't want to have, but you know what? I'm on the green side up, so I am actually having a great day. How have you been, Mr. Bombacci?
We've taken a couple weeks off, and I got to say, I've missed the opportunity to connect with you. We were even saying before we got on air here, it feels like a lifetime. But what a great opportunity to come Wednesday, shoot the breeze, even, talk about the challenges that you're facing, because that's what this is all about, is when we get a chance to connect with other people, it helps us cope, it helps us find solutions, and it helps us build resilience. Because as you also said before we got on the air, you know what? We'll get through it because we
Yes, we
always
will.
do, you know.
I have some actual challenges just before the show was coming on. I'm dealing with a project over in Australia, which is very important to me. There are a lot of people counting on it, and we're doing everything virtual. A couple of mistakes been made. It's like carpentry. My mother once said to my father, didn't know which end of the hammer to put the nail through into a board. He was not a carpenter, and my mom came from a carpenter background, and she would always say, measure twice, cut once, because you would learn that if you cut it too short, you're in trouble. So measure it again, because if you cut it too long, you can at least fix it. And that's my problem. Thank God we made something too big versus too small. At least we can rectify the problem. Hey, listen, it's been a crazy, crazy couple of days. Obviously, with what's going on with Facebook and the shutdown of WhatsApp, and of course, our
What
friend
what's up?
Instagram.
What's up or what's up?
Well, I always say, "What's up?" Hey, doctor, what's up? What's up?
What's
No,
up?
it should be called "What's up" because it was down. So let's try and figure out what this meant. I know I was panicking when I couldn't relate to the things that I was doing. I needed Facebook because I built some of my business things into it. I was watching a couple of ladies that are here in Canada that are selling furniture and antiques in Italy, and their only part of the business was on Facebook. There was an event being run by Facebook Live. It was canceled, which was a huge event. So it really affected all of our Facebook lives, and it really shows you the shortness of our life when our world is almost coming to a standstill when Facebook or Instagram shuts down. Love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, hey, this is, as you say, it's been a very crazy week. When you think of it, we had the whistleblower at Facebook first. So that was the start of a bad week for Facebook. And then they had the shutdown. And I think, when you think of the different platforms owned by Facebook, when you think of WhatsApp, when you think of Facebook, and sorry, I'm forgetting what the third one was. There was another one there. That is, what was the third one, Carrie? I can't remember the third part. It was,
WhatsApp
WhatsApp.
and
Oh,
Instagram.
Instagram. So how did I forget Instagram?
I know it's crazy.
Anyway, I think each one of them is unique in the sense that, Facebook and Instagram, there was certainly, and I heard those stories too about the business owners who, their lifeline is the ability to market their products and to communicate through social media. But if you look at something like WhatsApp, I know on our street, it's the vehicle to connecting with other people on our street. And because it's web-based, it's a great communication tool, a free communication tool for people around the world. I had some people tell me that they couldn't talk to their friends in South Africa, while it was down. And so, as much as you may, again, we can all focus because of the whistleblower. I think the focus was on the negative and Facebook, you're down, tough on you. Maybe this is some karma coming back at you.
Yes.
But what I think we all need to recognize, for all the negative that is there of social platforms, not all social media is bad. Using the tool to actually facilitate human interaction with other people is a beautiful thing. Doing business on it is a beautiful thing. Using WhatsApp to connect with people, whether it's local or around the world, is a beautiful thing. So there's so much. We can't throw the baby out with the bathwater here. And we just need to understand, hey, as the whistleblower called out, on Monday when she testified in the U.S., unfortunately, Facebook, when it came to business decisions, they are guided by the dollar. And we've said this before. I've said this to you. Unfortunately, we're up against, teams of behavioral scientists are working hard to make us addicted to those platforms. Why? because that's how they make money. And this is
Right.
the message of the Genwell project, the message of connected. It's one component of the messages. And
Yeah.
the message is, hey, we can no longer count, we could never count on them changing their business model. So there's only one other person that we can hold responsible for how much social media that we use,
Agree 100%.
us.
Well, and of course, if you're a young boy or girl, has to be controlled by an adult that can help you through it. And it was Frances Haugen, I think her name is,
Yep.
37 years old. She was a former product manager. She was a whistleblower, which is right. But sometimes when all this stuff is thrown at us in such a quick space, it really creates problems for every one of us. And Zuckerberg obviously is going to have to be accountable for it. They'll have to figure it out. But I loved what you said. Um, this is not the evil empire. We control our own destiny. And yes, there are people that are going to abuse the power of the internet, but if you use it properly, like I know you do and I do, I could not keep. My buddy just ended up in the hospital yesterday in Australia, and he's probably going to have a pacemaker put in. I would have never been able to communicate to him. We did it through Facebook yesterday.
What a
So
beautiful, beautiful thing.
right. And I would have not seen what you saw today. I'm sure you saw it. Robert Wine couldn't come on our
I
afternoon
saw
show at the
that.
bottom line. He sent the picture and I saw it instantly. In the old days, he would have had to mail the picture and I would have seen the kid would have been, she'd probably be going to
She'd be
getting
40
married
years old.
or, yeah, or getting married.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that we understand that we can blame the internet for many things, but you can control it. Turn it off. Like just
Yeah.
you can't, and that's where I think we need to understand. And now we're at that point. And don't forget, you're listening to Wellness Wednesday here. I feel well. I know you feel well, and I'm glad that Fired Up Network has joined us to help us do this. And I think ultimately, when we look at what Facebook and Instagram and what's app is doing to us, we now have to. This is kind of a wake up call.
Did
How has
you
this affected you? What
did
has
you
it
get
done to you?
Did you get that quote that I sent, or should I just read it? I sent you an email a little more before the show, but let
Yes,
me read the
read
quote
it.
that she said, which I just think is so powerful for us all to hear. When we realize that big tobacco, this is the lady Frances Haugen, the Facebook whistleblower. When we realized that big tobacco was hiding the harms it caused, the government took action. We figured out that cars were safer with seatbelts, the government took action. And when our government learned that opioids were taking lives, the government took action. We know the impact that social media and frankly, I guess social media is the big bad guy here. But as we say, there are positives as well. But there are ways for them to mitigate. We know that Francis even talked about how sometimes during the election last year, they turned on certain things that allowed them to reduce the amount of political turmoil and the sharing of information that was creating, the anxiety in the United States. They have the ability to control this, but they're choosing not to because they're being pushed by the almighty dollar. So I think it's such a great wake up call to all of us to say, look, and again, back to the message of the Gen Well and Connected is to say, look, the way we are going to get through this, if, as an individual, we are struggling to actually get away from technology because we're constantly looking at it. I don't know what it is now, probably 200, 300 times a day we touch our phone. I'm sure it's somewhere in that neighborhood. I haven't looked at the number in a long time. But what I know is that when you and I are chatting and having a deep, meaningful conversation, Carrie, guess what I'm not looking at? My phone.
You don't
And
know
so,
that I'm not.
yeah, but you might be.
Listen, I've got a 600. Tony put a click count on my phone, so I'm at 600 today. What I think is also important that we have to take as humans and as parents, because a lot of this is directed at some of the issues with younger girls and the images that were put out. But I can tell you, I told you this story once before. I was in the airport in New Zealand. It was actually in Auckland, getting ready to get on my flight. We had a 4-hour wait in the lounge. There was a family of 4. The kids must have been under the age of 10. All of them, all of them had iPads, and all of them were playing on that iPad, whether they were doing, watching the Facebook or whether they were playing games. Those parents were responsible for that. Those kids should have been given those iPads for the use of education and a little bit of playing, but not just sitting for 4 hours. They didn't even talk for an hour that I was there to watch this thing. So I think we also have to be accountable. We have to control, especially us as the adults in the picture, have to control a little bit better. And here's a good. Do you want to make a comment on that?
Well, I was just quickly going to say, I think we have to be careful to judge. Those two parents, three kids, traveling the world, they've got suitcases and backpacks. Your point is valid, but I think, and I just did some research before we came on tonight. Hey, the best things we can do is do time on TV or screens with your child. Make sure that you're actually engaging with them. Make sure it's age appropriate. Make sure it's educational. Make sure it's validated by whatever the local source is, to say, like, the school board is saying that you should be using this platform or that
Yeah.
platform, and then limiting the amount of time. And I think 2 hours is the time that it's actually the American, is it the Juvenile Psychology Association, says anything over 2 hours a day is too much,
Yep.
because it does lead to lack of brain development, lack of future academic success, reduced social skills. All the things that we need our kids to grow up and achieve are muted because they get too much time. But the hell, you and I spent a lot of time watching TV, whether it was the Pink Panther or cartoon Saturday morning.
Hogan's Heroes.
Hogan's Heroes. It was different, but it wasn't continuous. And I think we're waking up to just what this continuous cycle of nonstop information is doing to us.
And your point was well taken about the parent and kids, and don't judge. The only thing I judged is exactly what you said. It was a couple of hours of them not communicating. Had
Yeah,
had
totally.
the parents been interactive with it, I think it could have been different. So you're 100%.
Yeah.
I think that points are very valid. Listen, Darren, all the way from Australia. Hi, guys. We use the Facebook as a great connecting tool for our mental health awareness groups. It was an interesting time keeping anxiety down in kids we have in the program. In Oz, their phones also dropped out and made more drama situation to stay positive till voices were heard. It's needed, but yes, turn off when not needed. Very, very poignant point. So on this situation, then, we have to ask the question, am I okay? Like, am I okay? We can all now do that together. We can sit back and look in the mirror and say, am I okay? What am I dealing with? What mental health checks can I do for me to make sure I am okay? And that then, when you're okay, you're able to really help the person next to you to also become okay. And I think we're just learning now that we've got to take a step back. And you've always been this one, the fences are higher, the cars are bigger, the houses are bigger, and we're kind of losing perspective of why we're here. And it is being connected. It is what the Genwell Project is doing. Let's spend more time listening and being together than looking and judging it from a picture. Let's judge it from the truth. The truth is, when you're around people on a one-on-one conversation, you can get, body language is everything, right?
Yeah, totally. And to your question of how am I doing, I think I would encourage people to do this isn't all of Maslow's hierarchy, but I think there's three things to check in on: your mental health, your physical health, and your social health. Because if you check those three, we've heard about all the things that we can do for our mental health. How you doing? When we think of mental health, we need to think of things like gratitude and journaling and being grateful and maybe doing some mindfulness practices, and all those things are all available online. So, go do a little research, get active, and start doing something in the space. When we talk about social health, we survive with human connection. When we isolate ourselves, they call it the worst punishment you can give a human being is to put them in solitary confinement. So when you find yourself alone and struggling, the best thing you can do is pick up the phone, but maybe it's also a wake-up call to the rest of us who might be doing okay, to pick up the phone and call somebody who might be struggling. And then physical health, because we've been educated on this thing for so long, most of us know, hey, if today you didn't get out the door, and hey, I'm guilty of that some days as well, just because I get too caught up working and sitting at a computer, as I think many of us had, because we don't have to get in the car and walk from the parking lot and all those things. But, today, walk a block. That's all it takes. Just get started, baby steps.
Yep.
Because if you take care of those three things, your mental health, your physical health, and your social health, that's the start to feeling better about wherever you are. Even though the world's, in complete turmoil, you're taking care of your foundation of who you are as a human being. That's a starting point for being able to address any of the other challenges that you'll face.
Pete, what a great segue to what I'm going to bring up now. I went on the internet and I wanted to do a mental health check just to see how things are. So I'm
Ah,
going to walk through that right now with you. So it's a perfect segue for it. Saw a T-shirt today. It's okay not to be okay. We've seen that very, very, very often now. Okay, I'm just going to read some things here, and I love to hear your comment. The
yeah.
first point when you're doing a check on your mental health is start with the big question. And the big question, uh, a measuring tool is, am I functioning daily like I was before? Meaning that if you're a mother, if you're a teacher, if you're a spouse, a daughter, a son, are you managing those things like you were before? And being able to appreciate that there are going to be good days and bad days, but if it's continually always being bad days, then you're not functioning the way you should be. How does somebody look at that? How can they be objective? If you are struggling, how can you look within yourself and figure out, I'm struggling, I need help?
Yeah, for me, Carrie, there's actually two sides to that. So first off, and you just kind of touched on is, you could be functioning fairly okay, but we're all very good when we get inside our own heads of beating ourselves up and say, "Come on, man, you got to be able to do better than that," or "What are you doing? How come you're still sitting on the couch?" We're not being kind to ourselves, and right now, a very few of us, I think, are functioning to the same level that we functioned when, although it was a different kind of crazy function, we were at least out and about and doing what we did. And so I think the two sides of this are, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How are things going? But number two is actually, is the problem that you're not functioning, or is the problem that you're inside your head and you're beating yourself up and making it worse?
Yeah,
And again, that's where I would come back to saying, hey, the single greatest preventative action that we can take for to avoid depression, which is that chronic repeating of unable to get out of the funk. And that's not a technical or a medical definition. That's my definition. The best thing we can do for each other is to get out of our own heads, and that's by having a conversation.
yeah,
Because while you're talking to somebody, you're not thinking in here, you're actually communicating with that other person. And if they're the right person, because there's somebody who supports you, not only will you get out of your head, but they'll also reinforce if you share openly. And hey, I'm struggling, they'll go, "What are you talking about? You are amazing. I'm not good enough." Yes, you are. You're amazing, and you're gonna find a job, or you'll find a new partner, or whatever the situation
yeah.
is. This is what close friends are all about, and having those in your corner is critical at a time like this.
No question. The next thought is look at your feelings and your behaviors. Very important.
Mm.
Look pre-pandemic and where you are right now. How have my behaviors changed? How have my feelings changed? I know there's going to be this fluctuation. We get hit with it so hard right at the beginning. Obviously, we're going to react. But how did you calm the waters? Some people did. They were able to do certain things that calmed them, and others didn't. Some turn to drugs, as we know, opioid use is going through the roof. Unfortunately, suicide is up. There's all these negative things, but there are people that were able to get that equilibrium back. So it's important to kind of do a check. Do it now. It's 18 months into it. Try and remember before the pandemic, during the beginning of the pandemic, and where are you now? Because you may have seen that things were going great. Then all of a sudden you went into this deep hole, and maybe you over these last, let's say, 8 or 9 months, you maybe creeped back up to getting close to where you were, or even better. Love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think everything you're saying is spot on. I think and Dr. Stephen Morris would be right here with us. Talking about how people have used different coping strategies through the course of the global pandemic. Initially having a drink at 4 or 5 o'clock was almost like you're on holiday because, hey, I'm at home. I don't have to drive home from the office. I might as well just open up a cold one or have a glass of wine. When that had continued for a daily usage for the first 2 months, and you'd started getting to finishing the bottle that day, which I might have some experience with. That's when and consciousness to me is the important word in this conversation. We all go through ups and downs in life. We're all going to go through times when we feel social or not social, healthy, not healthy, mentally healthy, not mentally healthy, struggling for whatever reason. And I think the reality is, as long as you can look at yourself and you can go, yep, you know what, I've been drinking too much, or I've been doing too much of this or that, whatever the coping strategy is, and you can self-identify that, then you can take the steps to change and go back to where you know. And frankly, it's a bit of a holiday. So you did it. Big deal. But I think the challenge is for all of us is to look around us
Yep.
and look around at the people that we love and care about and the people that we know and just say, hey, you didn't look like you changed. You didn't look like you came back from that original coping strategy that you had. And now I'm reaching out to you because I want to get outside and make sure that you're not in your own head, that you're not beating yourself up, and that you're not going to go down the spiral that's going to have you facing some bigger challenges moving forward.
Hey, listen, Pete, I know we're a little bit pressed on time. We
Yeah.
wanted to put this show on. As you know, I've got major issues over in Australia, major issues that we will solve, but still I shouldn't say major, I should say we have issues. And so I just want to go through a couple more things, read off a couple things that have come up here. And then
Yeah.
next week, we're going to carry on this conversation.
I
And I
love it.
think I'm going to get Stephen Morris to come on. And I want to talk about this mental checklist because I think we all need to be doing it now. We're going to have a great weekend. I'm going to Montreal for a hockey tournament, for my first showcase as a commissioner. I am excited. I can't tell you how excited I am. And I know everybody's going to have turkey. I'm going to miss Thanksgiving turkey with my family. But I'll tell you what, I'm so elated that I can do it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Here are some of the things. Sorry, jump in, Pete.
Yeah, no, I just want to say on the Thanksgiving thing, I just want to encourage everybody, make the time to connect, stay connected, recognize some people don't have a family that they can go to.
Absolutely.
So who are the people that we can all reach out to? And when you sit with your family, appreciate what you have there and go deep with those people and make sure that you have that opportunity to check in on everybody that you're with. Because I just think these are the moments. Jen Well has our 2 weekends a year, but our message is throughout the year. Use occasions like Thanksgiving to just go and get a little closer to the people that are in your life, the people that you love and care about, who love and care about you. Because when you have those relationships, that makes the world a whole much easier place to manage through.
Wouldn't it have been better if Facebook was down for the Thanksgiving
For
weekend?
Thanksgiving,
Would have been
hey,
able to do that.
do
And
you
I'm,
have
I'm
any? Do you have any
apologizing.
pull? Any pull? Can you make that
Well,
happen?
I'm going to give Frances a call, see if she can do it again. Like a press conference too. I'm sure
Yeah,
there's a few more whistleblowers that'll pop up. Listen, I've been looking down at my phone. Please do not take it in any disrespect. I love you. I listen to you. I don't want any of our listeners,
yeah, yeah.
followers to think I'm disinterested. My friend, as you know, is struggling with a little bit of a heart issue. His wife is just keeping me informed, and I've been watching it. So I apologize right now. We're still waiting for updates on my very good friend, Aaron Kuzak, suffering from a heart issue. He will have to have surgery. It sounds like he's going to have a pacemaker, but he has to wait, and we don't know what the wait is about. So I apologize for that. Really quickly, I want to fire through these things. Do I still find joy in the things I once had joy in? Am I being irritable or snapping at people? Am I really down more than I usually am? Sometimes you can't answer the question, but many others can. Do I find that I'm catastrophizing more than usual? I don't even know that word. Catastrophizing.
Catastrophizing.
Is that a word?
Yeah, it's
Who came up with
it's
that one?
making everything extreme.
And am I avoiding people? We want to go through that. We'll go through that with our good friend Steve Morris next week. I wanted to go here for a few seconds. Barry Shelley, a fantastic follower of our show, not only this show, but all of our shows. Here's a great point. Some days are fine, others are not. The store I worked, and I recall this, Barry, I think you and I have had this conversation, Pete, about this. His store closed at Christmas time, a very bad time. He's been struggling, searching for a new job. No one wants to hire a 61-year-old. Well, I'll tell you what, nobody wants to hire a 62-year-old, but you have to put it in perspective. Right now, Barry, you've got health, and I know it's going to be a struggle, but you are a good person. And we don't know, Pete, how many people are in his shoes, whether you're 30, 40, 50, or 60. life has changed, it's got to be difficult on every age group. Then all of a sudden you've been working for 5 years in a job at 30 and the business closed down. Now you got to go out in a pandemic world to try and find a job. That's got to be stressful. At 61, all of a sudden you're not doing what you used to do, and now you've got to look for something else. Got to be very, very difficult.
Hey, there's so many components to that. There's the financial component, obviously. There's the pride and ego that for some
Yes,
people is a
important.
challenge. But I'll tell you the other one is the social aspect of it, which is, all of us, whether it was losing a job at a store, or whether you were forced to go home and work from home, we miss the water cooler. We all miss the water cooler. And you may not miss it every day, and may not miss it the 8 to 10 hours a day that you used to spend at the office. But the research is showing very clearly that we as human beings need each other. And to work from home 10 hours a day, now that the kids are back at school and hopefully they stay there,
Yes.
now it really is starting to be you and potentially alone. 28% of Canadians live alone. It's about the same, I'm going to assume, in Australia as well. In the US, it is the same. Whether you live alone or whether even if you have a partner who's working in another room, you're not getting that water cooler contact where you run into different people, you have a conversation about the sporting event, the whatever. The reality is, this is a challenge for all of us. And this is why shows like this, the work that you do, the work that I do, is going to be critically important as we move forward.
Yes.
We have crisis management. We have hospitals and hotlines. We have there's a thing called social prescribing, which is when somebody goes to the doctor, educating people at that point on the importance of staying connected and getting connected into a community group or something along that line. The reality is, we need to educate us about staying socially connected. We need to give people the tools and the opportunity, the occasions to reach out and build those connections. Because right now, Barry, I think the greatest thing anybody can do when you're in this situation, and it may be difficult to do, whether it's a coffee with a friend, that's a start. But one of the things I love doing is, to Carrie's point about how valuable you are as a human being, is find a way to give back. Go work at a food bank if you can, if it's close by, if it's safe, obviously. When you sit there and you realize that you've got food, water, shelter, and that you're there helping other people, whether it's a senior, whether it's a young person, not only are you connecting with the other people that are helping and doing good, you might meet your next employer there. But the reality is, when you realize the impact that you're having each and every day as a human being, you put a smile on your face and you put a smile on everybody else's face as well.
Yeah, and I know we got to wrap this up, but I would just
Yep.
want to say, Barry, Shelley, thank you. God bless to Aaron. You're wonderful. Very kind words to us, too. You and your show is responsible for getting me through this past year, the contact and the need. And then, of course, we got Darren. I'm going to read his. As I let you go, I just want to read Darren's social connections. Yes, absolutely, bloody agree. And then, of course, Aaron being having a shout out from Robert, and I will pass those on. Listen, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to read Darren's here out. I can't thank you enough, Pete. I look forward to next week. We're going to continue on. I had a lot more that I did a little bit of research on, because I thought it was important for us to educate, help people look a different way, saying, okay, let me look at myself now and let me be better. And we can all be better. And Pete, you make the world a better place with the Genwell Project.
You're the man. Thank you, Carrie Goulet.
Thank you, buddy.
Good night, everybody.
Pete Pumbacci. Wow, what a great opportunity to have my buddy on talking, obviously, Wellness Wednesday. Listen, just as I go, Darren, I want to do a big shout out to you. Obviously, you're watching Wellness Wednesday here, brought to you by the good people at Connected, and of course, the Genwell Project, and those great people, Terry and Joe, Fired Up Network. You are fantastic. Thank you for all you do. Listen, here's a great read. Darren Billing, all the way in Australia. A few mates here in Australia and myself are doing a 50K marathon early next year for mental health awareness, and get outside, enjoy the sun, and turn off technology. We have a media circus following on the day and have a big number of runners joining in. It's a mate's birthday, so the three of us just wanted to run together. Two of us are in wheelchairs, and so it will be a show of ability. Listen, Darren, you've been following us, and what you've done for us by listening to us and being a part of our show, you've inspired us to do more. And you know what I'm going to say? Let us be a part of that great day. You send me all the information. I can't promise you that I'm going to walk 50 kilometers, but I got a treadmill, and I will promise you I will do a bunch of kilometers with you on my treadmill, and we'll figure out how to show that off. So I'm really excited, and I'm really impressed on what you're doing over there. Can't thank you enough. And I know a lot of people are thanking you too. And thank you. It was a great show, Barry, because you helped make it a great show. Cheers, brother. I'll send you all the gear to join in, bros. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for a couple of minutes tonight. Pete Bombachi and myself do this because we want to hear you. We want to tell you. We want to give you an opportunity to be a part of the show and communicate. Get connected. Pick up the phone tomorrow morning and call somebody. Even do it now. Somebody you haven't spoken to for a while. Connect. I'll tell you what, you don't know how important that is for the person you're giving that call. It may make or break their day. So on behalf of all of us, including Fired Up Network, I want to thank you for taking some time out to be with us on Wellness Wednesday with Pete Bombachi. Good night.